In this video, you'll learn how to deconstruct a Wikipedia page, construct the scope of an argument, and you'll learn strategies to integrate online research with writing the research paper. Student misconceptions of research include mining for sources, assuming research is about answering only one question, and assuming researchers research the same way, so they don't consider low and high prior knowledge. When students conduct research, they often have the perspective of the miner. The goal is the gold. They just want to go into the internet as if it were some vast mine, track down the valuable resources, and get out as fast as possible. With this perspective, you're missing out on opportunities in which you can learn how to organize your paper, develop your ideas, and pursue topics you had not considered before. Another misconception that students have is that they assume researchers have only one single question, and they're going to mine the internet to find articles that answers that one question. There is an initial research question that gets the ball rolling. For me, I'm curious about where textbooks came from and what was their effect on curriculum and instruction. But researchers also have many follow-up questions. For me, it's who created the first textbooks? Why were textbooks developed? How have students used textbooks to learn? As you start the research process, you begin to learn more about the scope of the topic and you generate more questions that you didn't consider before. This is a good sign that you're advancing. Next, students don't realize how much prior knowledge factors into the way you read. High prior knowledge means you know quite a bit about your topic, either through books or experience. Low prior knowledge means you're not as familiar with the topic. Readers with high prior knowledge on a topic will skim a page differently. Often they don't need to read every single word or click on every hyperlink in the paragraphs. Often, when I'm reading a page, I'm looking for keywords I had not thought of before to type into the library database. I'm not necessarily reading for comprehension. Readers with low prior knowledge on the topic need to use a different set of strategies because their goals are different. If you have low prior knowledge, you can't really judge yet what's going to be important and what should be excluded. At this stage, it's all good, but that's okay. You're in the right place. You don't want to limit yourself too soon in the game. If you have low prior knowledge, skimming strategies may not be as effective for you. You may feel more at ease with reading entire passages and sections. Don't worry about time. If it's taking you longer to read, that's okay. Also, if you have low prior knowledge on the topic, you would benefit from writing down your ideas and questions. You want to free up your minds as much as possible when conducting research online. Last, whether you have high or low prior knowledge, you would benefit from sharing your ideas and questions with another person who can give you feedback on your process. In grad school, nearly all research is conducted in social situations in which you must share your research process with another colleague or professor. This is definitely one bad habit that students need to change. Research is not a solitary process, it's a social process. Let's now conduct a search in Wikipedia. In a previous video, I inquired about the history of textbooks. Let's continue with this same search. I'm just going to type textbooks into the search box. Before I begin to read, I'm going to write down my research question next to my computer. This will remind me what my primary goal was. While conducting research online, you're going to be bombarded with pop-up ads, email alerts, Facebook notifications, etc. Students often forget their goals because of all this stimuli. Again, write down all ideas and questions that come to mind. To deconstruct a page, the first thing you want to do is locate the page outline. This is probably the most valuable information to you as a reader and writer of your own paper. According to this outline, there are 5 major points or categories of information: history, market, K-12 textbooks, mathematics, and higher education. Thus, according to this one Wikipedia page, these are 5 important things to think about when thinking about textbooks. Now, this doesn't mean there aren't more categories that should be included. International textbooks are not in this outline. Also not included is the influence of major states like Texas and California on textbook production and the impact textbooks have on education and curriculum. When I refer back to my questions and prior knowledge, I realized that I did not consider textbooks in specific majors like mathematics. In what way do different disciplines perceive textbook use in the classroom? Before even beginning to read anything, my perspective of my topic has already begun to evolve and new questions arise. Headings and subheadings. What is being discussed and what is excluded? First, I'm just going to quickly skim the whole document and look at the headings and subheadings to get a sense of how long the document is and how much is written about each heading. If I see a lot of information on a subtopic, then I wonder if that point is more important or relevant. I'm also looking to see what's excluded and why it's excluded. Right off the bat, I see that there's a lot of information here written about the market. Before starting this search, I had not given this point that much weight, but who knows, this may be the most important thing that has affected education. In the education section, there is a subsection on high school, but nothing on primary schools, so I'm going to write that down, that I need to go and look into this information on textbooks in primary schools. There's a section on higher education, but there's nothing on textbooks in private versus public colleges. I don't know if it matters. I'm just going to write that down anyways. There is this section on mathematics, but nothing on any other subject, so I'm also going to write that down. Textbooks and other disciplines. Hyperlinks. What is important? I'm going to skim this document and locate all the hyperlinks. The hyperlinks are very important when you're trying to understand the scope of your topic. When someone wrote this page, they stopped and realized that this specific idea or subtopic was so important that it needed a whole other page to fully explain it. Of course, there are other reasons for hyperlinks that I won't go into here. Over here, there's a link on Gutenberg, the creator of the first printing press. How much do I need to know about the history of the printing press to understand the history of textbooks? When I started my search, I didn't even think about the history of the printing press. This may have a lot to do with my topic on textbooks, especially if these books have been around since ancient Greece. They probably took off once the printing press was invented. What you see here as a hyperlink could actually be a paragraph or a few pages in my own paper. These writers found this to be important enough to create a hyperlink, so a teacher may find it important enough to be a section or a paragraph in your own report. At this point, you may be looking at this page and realize that there's quite a few hyperlinks. Am I supposed to write about each of these hyperlinks or subtopics in my paper? It just depends. First, do you know anything about all these hyperlinks? If your prior knowledge is really low, you may just need to read all these pages just to get a better idea about this one page in front of you. Second, what is your research question? The hyperlinks may allow you to better understand your topic, but may have little to do with your main research question. Third, how long is your paper? If you're expected to write 100 pages, you can afford to discuss more of these subtopics. If you're expected to write only 3 pages, you really have to focus your topic. And last, who is your audience? You don't want to exhaust your audience with details that they may already know, or with details they may find to be irrelevant to your main research question. At first it may seem like a guessing game. How do I know what my audience wants? The answer to this question comes with experience. You give them a draft, they give you their questions and critiques. You would then expand on details and cut some out. The more you engage in this process, the more you'll know from experience what to look for when you conduct research. Visual content. How is information represented visually? You may notice there aren't many pictures on this particular page. We get this one picture here of a textbook. Although this page isn't laden with pictures, information is still being represented in a visual way for us to read the page. At the top and middle of the page, you should notice the exclamation point and balance scales. The exclamation point represents alarm or caution. The scales represent content that appears to be off balance in some way. In other words, this section may be biased. With these two symbols, Wikipedia is inviting its readers to contribute to this page to make it more balanced. This is important to know because that means there's more on the topic that has not been addressed here. It also forces us to be highly critical of the material we're about to read. Another example of visual content actually are these section breaks here, the solid lines that run across all the major sections. This communicates to the reader that this info is separate from this other info. In what ways is it separate is not clear. Are these sections closely related, so they could be paragraphs in a paper, or are these ideas not connected at all, so if you wanted to talk about all these points, a teacher would just tell you to focus your paper more? These are the kinds of questions you need to ask yourself as you're reading the content. The point of an encyclopedia is to cover everything about the topic in just a few pages. The point of a research paper is to explore a lot about just one part of this broad topic. These are two different writing goals.